Wheelchair chat, blood, sweat, stats. We rewind the wars and the wins. Bell rings again. Storyline spin under the lights where the legends begin. This is the value of wrestling.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the value of wrestling of the Big Tyme back in the house with Big Tyme. Breaking news, because there's a lot of stuff being chitter-chattered on the interwebs that I think needs to be discussed because it's just getting crazy. It is Thursday. We are going to have the IWCP later tonight. If you're seeing me now, this is a pre-recorded show, but later tonight on Thursday, we will be going over the IWC, the Independent Wrestling Community Podcast, where we talk about everything independent wrestling. We're going to dive into that. We should be live and ready to go. I thank you for being here. What is going on after a lot of the WrestleMania fallout? Well, we still have Ric Flair acting a fool, upset, being banned from WrestleMania 42, and going after Dutch Mantel and Steven Richards for whatever reason. We're going to dive into a little bit of that. The Pat McAfee fallout. How does Pat McAfee feel a little bit? What has been said? What is all of this to be said after everything that happened at WrestleMania, especially night one with the Pat McAfee Jelly Roll involvement in this whole match? Why are we not getting the Jelly Roll? Pat McAfee teaming with Randy and Cody and all of that chaos. And CM Punk knocking a fan's phone out of his hands at the hotel. So much to talk about, and it never ends. And it's time that we start talking about it today. So let's start off with the interview between Ric Flair and Ariel Helwani on the Ariel Helwani show. It was interesting. It was very interesting. The things that came up in these conversations we talk about. Ric Flair claiming he was literally not invited and essentially banned from WrestleMania 42. Because of an incident that happened at WrestleMania 41. And if we go back, we're going to go back to the Charlotte Flair Tiffany Stratton match where Charlotte and Tiffany got really deep personal relationships, and Lulu Kaiser got brought up into this. Lulu Kaiser made a statement about Charlotte Flair, and then Ric Flair felt he needed to get involved for whatever and threatened to physically confront Lulu Kaiser. And so this is part of what kept Ric Flair from being able to attend WrestleMania 42. He didn't get invited to WrestleMania, and I'm quoting what Ric Flair said to Ariel Helwani. He didn't get invited to WrestleMania this year. I threatened to beat up Tiffany Stratton's husband or boyfriend at the time because they weren't married and they both moved on at this point. Last year, a 24-year-old kid being threatened by a 76-year-old man, and I can't go to WrestleMania. Are you kidding me? That's English, kid. He's going to go as far in wrestling as a gnat. He'll be a fly on the wall in years. Ric Flair is still going off on Ludwig Kaiser, even though Ludwig Kaiser is doing great work in AAA as the original El Grande Americano. And Ric Flair still having heat, but was barred from coming to WrestleMania because of all of that. It's crazy to think. But he went off on that. He also went off again. He had a bunch of people calling him about the recent fighting deal. And then it was explained. It pissed him off that he didn't even get a call. But he hadn't learned about the news. He just, people started calling him saying he got dropped from Roots of Fighting. And they didn't call or talk to him. We know that's old news. But he also went off on Stevie Richards and Dutch Mantel calling Steven Richards a punk and not even knowing Dutch Mantel's name, supposedly calling him Seb Coulter or whatever his name is. He talked about who the F was Dutch Mantel and Stevie Richards. That kid's finger, his little finger is bigger than Steven Richards' next. Ric Flair coming out of his hiding hole to be relevant around WrestleMania because he's not. A lot of talk that Ric Flair is going to wrestle again at some point. It's very interesting how it all worked out. But Ric Flair is trying to make news, going off. I can't believe he's going off on Dutch Mantel, talking about Dutch Mantel and not having a legacy. I don't know. Dutch Mantel has a pretty historic legacy in my eyes, but Ric Flair doesn't feel the same way. Ric Flair also talked about the Charlotte Flair Alexa Bliss match, and he said, "I didn't like her match at all. Ashley needs to be a singles wrestler in the title picture right now." Uh, you know, he goes back and forth, but Tony Khan, he went on to say about Tony Khan is one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up owning wrestling one day. Ric Flair riding the saddlebags. He's clearly in pain. He feels WWE is punishing him, which is probably what is getting his reaction. He took personal jabs at Dutch Mantel and Stevie Richards. It's interesting. If Ric Flair gets back in the ring, we're going to be in trouble. But Ric Flair is coming out, doing things. He was in Vegas with some female and making his comments like he always does. Somebody needs to help Ric Flair. Somebody needs to go check on Ric Flair. Somebody needs to make sure Ric Flair's okay. Somebody needs to sit down and talk to Ric Flair. I don't know what is going on with Flair, but it's getting drastic. It's getting serious, and it's a hot mess. I mean, he's just all over the place, attacking Steven Richards, Dutch Mantel, complaining about not being going to WrestleMania 42 because of comments he made to Ludwig Kaiser. The story is he made threats to Ludwig Kaiser. Ludwig Kaiser took it to Triple H. Yada, yada, yada. Kaiser and Tiffany no longer together. Charlotte and Tiffany not even feuding at this point. Charlotte's in a tag team with Alexa Bliss fighting for the tag team titles, and Ric Flair's still here. And Ariel Wani giving him the time to come on a show and rant. There's an era here that I don't know what to say. You have to love and respect Lex Freire's career, and that he will have a legacy for everything he has done for the wrestling business. But much like Bret Hart, there's so much bitterness it seems to be flowing out of them that they can't get out of their own ways. They can't just step back and enjoy the life after wrestling. And I respect Bret Hart and everything he does. I'm not trying to attack either man, but it just seems like they are so hell bent on trying to so much turmoil, just so much bitterness, just so much unhappiness, unrest. It just they haven't found this personal peace that I think they should find, and it's sad because Ric Flair and Bret Hart both have legacies that are beyond words and beyond years that are going to last in legacies and go down in wrestling history, and make them true immortals in wrestling history. Um, but they really just kind of hurt their legacy when they come out and just do all these crazy things that are not necessary. They don't even need to make these issues as big as they are. If they would just, let it be and move on, I think we'd be in a far better place for both of them. But Ric Flair, Bret Hart, but here we're really talking about Ric Flair's just kind of going off, and he does this every once in a while. It's crazy. It is just a whole different world to see Ric Flair where he is today. And the fact of the matter that there's still talks that Ric Flair is going to get one more match. He wants to retire a true retirement match. Like he didn't get one with Shawn Michaels in WWE. I get it, but we'll have to see. Hopefully Tony Khan doesn't give him the match. Who knows if he's going to go outside sources and do it anyways. We've seen what he did last time. Uh, you know, it's a tragedy as we move forward. Uh, Pat McAfee, the WrestleMania fallout, how this all played out. Uh, Pat McAfee getting thrown into the Randy Orton Cody Rhodes. He was supposed to be Randy Orton's mystery caller. There was a lot of talks in the beginning that it was going to be either Kevin Owens or Aleister Black. And Aleister Black would have been a great thing. They were putting Aleister Black in a lot of background vignettes at one point. And it would have been interesting if they would have used Aleister Black instead of Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee got involved and made this messy mess. Multiple reports have now confirmed that this was driven by TKO, specifically Aria Emanuel, who is the agent for Pat McAfee. Aria personally wanted McAfee involved because he's a big ESPN personality and wanted more of that celebrity crossover. McAfee was TKO's first choice, not WWE's creative choice. McAfee initially turned the angle down, which was starting to make WWE scramble and circle back to their bigger offers. But eventually, I guess he gave in. Then at some point, Pat McAfee tried to back out again, and that didn't work out. And we saw how it all folded out. At this point, though, we do know Pat McAfee has followed through on his agreement that if Randy Orton didn't win the title, he would not be involved in anything else wrestling. So he's opted out of all further plans. This does throw the Orton McAfee Jelly Roll Rhodes match out the window that was supposed to be at Backlash as a fallout. It's a mess. If TKO and Ario Emanuel, if all these reports are true, and it seems like they are, I think Ario Emanuel is overstepping. Is there a civil war between Triple H and The Rock? TKO, what is going on? Why is The Rock there? Well, we know Rock went and filmed the video. I don't think he's going to be there, but I mean, there's just so much crap here, and it was just such a bad, bad situation that really took away from what WrestleMania could have been if it was just Randy and Cody. Neither Jelly Roll nor McAfee needed to be involved in these matches. People of higher power really pushed it. But McAfee says he's done. We probably won't see him in wrestling, and it's going to be hard for McAfee to come back to wrestling to be looked at like a serious part of wrestling after this whole scenario. I'm sure he understands that. Even Jelly Roll's promo after it all said and done, talking about neither of them needed to be a part of this. You know, yeah, a lot of the stuff people are saying that made people talk, and that's all that matters. And yeah, it's made people talk. People are still talking about the fallout. But when you look at night one, you look at Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton in that match, and it was very confusing. Cody looked like a heel at points. Randy looked like a babyface. They were selling the Randy Orton back injury to Cody, babyface heel. It was hard to see who was who. And in the end, and Randy Orton completely turns heel and gets the heat that he should have probably had going into this match. But now what do you do? What do you do going forward? How do you continue this story? Why does Randy and Cody need to fight again? We'll have to see at Backlash. But it turned into a hot mess, and it was very poorly executed, the fallout. And if this goes back to TKO and Aria Emanuel, if this is what he's trying to do to sell tickets because the tickets are low, I think you got to look at what wrestling fans want. You can't alienate the hardcore wrestling fans who are willing to pay the price to come to your shows. I know you want to get the sometimes the average, the general, the average wrestling fan, click to see what's going on. They hear some talk and they tune in, but you still got to give to the wrestling fans who you're loyal fans who have been there through all this, the good, the bad, and the ugly, who still continue to be there. Alienating them is not going to help you. You're not going to be able to replace that crowd with the part-time wrestling fans, the casual wrestling fans that do exist, that come in and watch something that's piqued their interest. You have to have your diehard fans, or you're going to wind up like a company that's, got only sickos and doesn't meet any requirements for wrestling. And it's just a hot mess. I mean, we got to be careful here. I think there needs to be a good balance of stuff. Celebrity involvement can work if it works good, but we've only seen that in a little bit. I don't like, I'm not a big fan of Joey Roll. I appreciate what he tried to do and come in. He's a great promo guy. He's a great talker. He could do a lot of great stuff in that aspect for wrestling. But in ring, he was okay. It didn't do a whole lot. He needs to get a little more training to really be something that we're going to take serious. McAfee has a little more athleticism to him, and it's more respected. I'd love to see Pat McAfee back and maybe at the announce desk, because he was a great talker, made the event more fun, and really brought a whole different personality out of Michael Cole, I felt, when he was at the announce table. But again, here we are. We're going to have to wait and see. It's just another hot mess created by wrestling and higher ups that don't have their heads or hands, or not in the middle of it, really trying to understand all of it. And it's really, really sad, because we need to focus on the wrestling, the matches, the stories that are natural, and let them go. Because CM Punk and CM Punk and Roman Reigns was the match that is probably going to go down as match of the year. And it was match of WrestleMania, probably one of the better WrestleMania matches in years. And Randy and Cody just didn't even meet that same build, because there was so much other stuff that just took you out of the moment, disconnected you from the moment. But speaking of Punk, incident with Punk knocking a phone out of a fan's hand at the hotel, and this majorly went viral. Hours after losing the World Heavyweight Championship to Roman Reigns, Punk was in the lobby just after midnight, where Bayley and AJ were having a moment, hugging goodbyes. AJ Lee is leaving, going away for a while. We don't know if it's permanently, long-term, how long this is going to be. But AJ Lee's going home, and she's saying goodbye to a dear friend. And Bailey, and a fan who had already been about taking a selfie with AJ earlier, was continuing to film Bailey and AJ, and got up in their faces. I mean, got way up in like their moment, their hug. They were trying to back up and get away. Punk. If you're messing with AJ Lee and Punk's around, and if you don't think Punk's going to react, you're sorely mistaken. And I do not blame CM Punk for reacting. That is his wife. And you know, Punk protects what's important to him. So he reacted. Maybe it wasn't the best way for Punk to react by slapping a phone out of a fan's hand, but maybe that's what needs to be done. Uh, the security and they still intervened. The fan apologized repeatedly. So the fan kind of knew he overstepped that line and pissed off Punk. But I mean, get it. Footage has come out from TMZ with the fan's phone showing Bailey telling the fan, "Go away, get out of here," right before Punk acted. The fan later told TMZ he is not suing or pressing charges. She just wants a personal apology and a handshake from Punk. How do you deem that? If you're the one apologize. Look, you were in a very personal moment between AJ Lee and Bailey. They were saying their goodbyes. They don't know when they're going to see each other again, and you were in that moment. You were already told no, not to, you're not going to get a selfie. This wasn't the opportunity time. And you're harassing AJ Lee and Bailey, who are very dear to Punk, especially AJ Lee being his wife. And Punk reacted. He slapped the phone out of your hand because he was pissed off. You're wrong. And if you think you deserve a handshake and an apology from CM Punk, or you're going to sue him, get the F out of here. That is shameful, disgusting, and intolerable. And these fans who act like this need to get a clue. We said when everybody was going to WrestleMania, before WrestleMania, when we made the predictions, we asked you all to be respectful of these wrestlers, understand their personal space. You don't need to hunt down the hotels that they're in. You don't need to camp out in the elevator banks where their hotel is, waiting for them to come down. And if you do, great. But if you're told no, respect the no. This is just crazy that we're even here. We're even discussing that wrestling fans are going outside where they should be. And I get it. Wrestling fans do this all the time. There's a breed of wrestling fans that are not going to worry about it. They just want their autograph. They want their moment with a wrestling star. And again, if you were saying sorry after he slapped his phone out of your hand, then you know you were wrong. So asking for a personal apology and a handshake from Punk, so you can get a moment. And that's what that really is about. Because if you wanted a personal apology, if you want Punk to just say, "Hey, you know what? I'm sorry I slapped your phone over your hands. I overreacted." Maybe there is some grounds. Maybe it was not the best step for Punk to take. But again, I think Punk had every right to. You're invading a personal moment between his wife and a person that they both consider a friend. You were told no, to go away, to basically stop what you were doing. You proceeded as they were walking away from you, and he walked over and did what he felt was necessary to do, because people aren't reacting. There wasn't security to protect him and put a person in the way, and you pissed off Punk. So should Punk apologize? No. I honestly, I don't think Punk should apologize at all. But when you're in this business and you're at that level, good PR is going to be a thing. So if Punk apologizes, that's one thing. The handshake, F no. Why would I shake your hand? Punk doesn't need to shake your hand. That's a moment. All that guy is trying to get is a moment. He wants the picture and I got Punk to apologize and give me a handshake. Get out of here with that garbage, because you don't deserve that, because you were in the wrong. Does that make Punk's action any better? Personally, yeah. I think Punk had every right to. In a big picture PR in the world that we're living in, Punk probably shouldn't have slapped your phone out of your hand. Probably should have just stood between you and them and stared through your camera back at you. That should have been okay. But personally, on my level, no. You crossed the line. Punk reacted because you were told no. And we're getting too many fans that are being inappropriate with wrestlers, and especially female wrestlers. We know at WrestleCon, there was a man that was being escorted out of WrestleCon after grabbing former Cora Jade's butt, from what I understand. or groping her, and that's another one. We've known that Rhea Ripley has been harassed heavily by fans at different times at different events. These stories are escalating and building, and it only takes one. We know that not too far back that the former Daria, I can't think Daria, had a stalker. Fans are taking it too far. It just takes one to ruin it all for everybody, and it's inappropriate, and it's uncalled for, and it's unjust, and it shouldn't be going on. And if you can't respect that, then maybe you need to check yourself and really have a self evaluation of who you are. And if you think Punk did anything wrong here, I think you're freaking crazy. I think you're dumb. You don't understand wrestling, and you can see it where people don't respect the space wrestlers. It on the independent scene, it's a little better for what I've seen. I've been around it. I haven't seen an issue where something happened on a independent scene that needed to be handled in any way because somebody was being inappropriate. But I mean, there's just it's uncalled for. You want to film them, great. But when they're asking you no, or they tell you no selfie, or you can see that they're having a moment, to sit there and film it like a creepy bee is just wrong, and it's disgusting, and this behavior needs to stop, and every wrestling fan needs to put themselves in check, and other wrestling fans need to hold other wrestling fans accountable because this is giving us all a bad name. So if you see somebody doing something like this, get involved. Tell them, hey, what the hell are you doing? This isn't the way we want to be looked at. It's a damn shame. I think Punk on a personal level handled it the way it needed to be handled. Hopefully, this person learns a lesson. If Punk apologizes, it's going to be for a PR request. It's going to be because the higher ups decided that this needs to be done. I think Triple H and Punk would probably be on the same page, but at a corporate level and who these people are and the big shots, and in case this guy is going to follow a lawsuit because it's so easy to find an attorney who's going to jump on to suing a company like TKO, WWE, and CM Punk because they all have money. And in this day and age, it can cost you more to go to court and fight it than it's just to be like shell out money. And it's a damn shame. And this guy doesn't deserve anything. And if he sues them, oh, I wish they'd fight it because he doesn't deserve anything. His behavior was uncalled for, and he got a phone slapped out of his hand because he was asked not to do something. He was continuing to do it. I'm sorry, you're wrong. Period. Punk's right. Punk shouldn't have to apologize. Punk has no reason to apologize. Will Punk apologize? I don't know. It'll be a PR. It'll be because WWE made him tell him, hey, we got to take care of this so he doesn't sue us. And that's all it's going to be about. So this guy won't sue over a phone. What a shame. And this is because wrestling fans choose to step over a line that we all know. And if you don't know, then there's something really wrong with you, and you shouldn't be going to any wrestling events, period. You shouldn't be in these cities. You shouldn't be in these places. You shouldn't be at these hotels. I think WWE needs to start hiring security for all the wrestlers at every corner. I mean, it sucks that these people may have to have personal security to follow them around 24/7, and I'm sure some of them do, but it's going to happen. And then I'm sure the ones that have kids or really have high end security because there's weird people out here, and it's a damn shame that wrestling fans have to take a hit because one wrestling fan acted inappropriate, and you did, mother trucker. You decided to keep filming after you were told not to. You could see it was an intimate moment. They were trying to get away from you. You continued to follow them. You had gotten up in their face. You were wrong. No doubt about it. You were completely and utterly wrong by your actions and behavior, and I don't care what anybody says. I think everybody's going to agree with me. I think if Punk apologizes, it's going to come from a higher level. And if anybody has a different opinion, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Drop it in the box below. I think there's a lot of people I could reach out to. We always talk about Ugly. I think Ugly would look at it the same way I do. I think if it was Ugly and it was members of his family in that behavior, he probably do the same thing. I would no doubtly do that too. If I felt like you had my wife, which of course I'm not married, but that's a whole another story. I'm not dating anybody. But if I had a wife and she was hugging another woman and you were up in their faces in a moment that was personal, private to them, and they were trying to get away from you, I'd probably slap the phone out of your hand too and be like, what the fuck? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Ric Flair's crazy. Pat McAfee and the TKO stuff all followed out and just went back. And CM Punk doing CM Punk things, which he's not wrong for. And that's really what this breaking news moment section is on the Big Time. This is the Value Wrestling. We'll be back later tonight with the IWCP, the Independent Wrestling Community Podcast. I'm just bringing this because all these talking points have come up, and I wanted to bring them to your attention and just briefly discuss them in a short thing here. I thank you for being here. Sure, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Be a part of the Value Wrestling family. Come back tonight, IWCP. Check out thevaluewrestling.com with a lot of stuff there. Big events I will be posting here shortly once we get around the corner here of all the May events that I do have. Information for if you are an independent booker, wrestling promotion, and you have events coming up in the next months, and you have that information, reach out to me so I can get those on our calendar on our webpage, so people can who follow our webpage will be able to find that information, know when, where, and why they need to be at some of the best wrestling shows in the business today, because independent wrestling is great. Independent wrestling is some of the best entertainment, and we got a busy weekend with independent wrestling, so you want to make sure you're here tonight to hear all the shows that are going down this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you can make sure you know where you need to be, what times and what places. We're going to go over it all later tonight on the IWCP. All right, now on the Big Time, this is Big Time News Report, breaking it down for you. I will see you all on the next one. No, we're going to go there. Yes.
Big time, big time, big time. Walking alone till the lights go blind. They said I'd break, said I'd fade in the roar. I learned to bleed on the cold of the floor. Outcast eyes on a world that turned its back. I stitched my name into every scar and crack. I'm big time, built from the losses, raised from the ruins, crushed under crosses. I was the underdog left in the dark. Now I'm the fire, now I'm the spark. I'm big time, walking this road alone, so you can see you can build a throne. I felt that chill when your friends disappear. I've heard that laugh when your dream's not clear. But I bit down on the doubt like steel. If you're ready to fight, then your dream is real. I'm big time, built from the losses, erased from the ruins, crushed under crosses. I was the underdog left in the dark. Now I'm the fire.